Hi, I'm just back from Auchenhowie to cover the press conferences of the newly installed captain Lauren Shankland, as well as Rangers manager Derek McInnes. Now, we'll touch on the Shankland press conference first. It was announced just as we were walking in that he was appointed captain under Derek McInnes, and I think you could see the smile on his face when he walked through the door. He spoke about it being a massive, massive honour for him, and that actually he'd learned how to be a leader at Hearts, and he's just delighted now to be at Ibrox and to be given the opportunity to lead our great institution. I think the one thing that came through from both press conferences is the talk of collective leadership, though. Lawrence is obviously going to be the focal point of that, and he fully understands and accepts that role. But he spoke again about having the likes of Dan Neil, Ross McCrory, um, Dragojevic coming into the group now, who've all had experience of being in leadership roles within other clubs, and I think that's one thing that's going to be really, really important as the season starts. That we've got a number of players and individuals across that group that are going to be holding each other to account and are going to be responsible for setting the standards day in, day out. One of the questions that I was going to ask him that didn't really get the chance to was, what was his message going to be to the group just before they head out onto the pitch at Tannadice? But he did give us a little bit of insight into what his leadership style was going to be. And for him, it's all about just leading and doing things by example. He spoke about doing things properly day in, day out. And even if you're not your best, you still turn up and you give 100% because that's the type of attitude that he knows that the fans will appreciate. I think the other thing was making sure that modern players now don't respond to people that shout and scream at them, and I thought that was a really interesting comment from his point of view. So it's about leading from the front, putting the ball in the back of the net for Shankland because he's going to be one of the goal scorers that we need, but also making sure that he can get the other players in the group to help him set those standards and collective ownership for the leadership piece. As a Rangers fan, it's obvious he kind of knows the expectations that captaincy role is going to have, and it was really interesting. There's a little clip in there, him talking about Barry Ferguson being his captain, as I think he is for quite a lot of the Rangers fans out there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the players respond and how he handles that. But the one thing that he did make clear was that it's not going to impact his role, which is to put the ball in the back of the net. First and foremost, he's going to be a goal scorer for Rangers, and he's going to have to ensure that he's holding up his end of the bargain. He did talk about the manager coming in and the expectations that the manager's got on the group. He's obviously made it very, very clear that winning silverware is a must being at a club like Rangers. And Laurie Shankland echoed that. He talked about the kind of levels going up every week that they've been in pre-season. The two friendlies that they've had at Ibrox, been able to give them a bit of experience to play in front of the crowd and certainly settle the new players in. But I think it's that high work rate, high intensity that the manager's going to want to see, and hopefully we'll see a little bit of that on Friday at Dundee United. Really good listen. You can absolutely see from the picture that we put up when we were in the press conference, he was doing a little bit of a mini photo shoot. He's absolutely buzzing to be named captain, and personally, I think it's the right choice. He's a Rangers fan. He gets the club. He's been a leader at Hearts, and he'll know how to help the manager set those standards and reaffirm those winning standards that we've so long lacked at Ibrox. I think the biggest difference, and you'll hear that in the McInnes press conference when I do that summary, is that he's got others there to help him. Hopefully that means we get the result on Friday versus Dundee United, but enjoy the press conference, check it out.
Thank you. Obviously, a huge honour for myself to be named captain of this football club. Lifelong supporter, and it was a dream to be here in the first place. But get the opportunity to captain the clubs, as I said, a huge honour.
How did the manager break the news to you? What's the last couple of weeks been like? Is it something you had in mind? Obviously, a few of you have known that the Almar really takes into what your thoughts have been.
You just told me about an hour ago, to be honest, so I got a wee bit exclusive before yourself. But no, listen, when I was at Hearts, I was a captain. I believe since I've came here, kind of the only way I've kind of learned to behave around the place in my training is to act like a captain and try and be a leader in the group. It wasn't something I thought about too much, if I'm being honest. I was delighted to be here in the first place, but I always look to myself to set examples on the training pitch, do things properly around the place, and that's not just myself, obviously. signed a lot of players to this group this season, and Neil, Bengal for experienced players who have been about clubs, been captains, and it's about always setting the examples as well. So in terms of my behaviours around the club, they've just been what I expect from myself.
How prepared do you feel for scrutiny and everything that comes with this armband, and how beneficial has the last experience been?
As I said, the last 2.5 years, all I've known really has been a captain at a football club, and it's something I enjoyed. I enjoyed the responsibility. Of course, you touch on the scrutiny that comes with that. Of course, at times when things get difficult, people do look to the captain to kind of answer up for the squad, and that's something that I'll need to be responsible for. But listen, on the flip side of that, the rewards of being successful at this football club and being a successful captain, for me, outweigh it by miles. So it's something I'm really looking forward to.
Well, the way that a lot of clubs now have a leadership group, is that in place, and how beneficial do you think that will be for you?
As I said, it's pretty new, but the manager did touch on that, and as I've touched on there, we're going to need a lot of leaders in the camp. I touched on Dan, obviously, he's a known captain, he'd been at Sunderland, experience of working with Cammy last year as well, who's a true leader in everything he does. So it'll not just be about myself, there will be that kind of core group that looks to lead the changing room. But obviously myself, I'll be at the forefront of that. But I'm pleased with what we've seen so far. I think we've got a lot of good people in that changing room, and we'll look to lead that properly.
Growing up and watching Rangers captains in the past, what will it mean to you walking out on Friday night wearing that armband in a competitive game for the first time?
I can't wait. I was buzzing to do it the friendly in Spain, to be honest, just to get the chance to get the armband on. But no, listen, to lead my club that I've supported all my life is obviously going to be a huge moment, but at the same time we've got a job to go and do, and I'll be fully concentrated on the football after that. But I'll allow myself a minute to enjoy it.
Obviously, I'm going to Friday. In terms of the readiness of this squad for what lies ahead, where are we? How ready are you players for this campaign?
Pre-season obviously was good for us. We got a lot of good luck in with our trip to Spain. With the 2 more recent games as well at Ibrox, so that's been good for us. Get experience of feeling they played at home and stuff. But listen, pre-season serves its purpose. You can only be as ready as you can be with the youth that you've got there. But I believe that the team are ready to go. I got a feeling about training the day that the boys are really looking forward to the competitive games starting again. I certainly am myself. I enjoy them a lot more than friendlies. And it's a great fixture for us going up to Dundee United. It'll be a sellout up there. Good stadium to play at. Good away day for the fans, and it's able us to go and try and get a result.
Especially with you've been through the last couple of months. I don't think Waterland actually covers it in terms of what's happening. Have you given yourself a moment to just realise what's happened for you in the last couple of months?
With football, I think throughout my career you kind of learn the ups and downs. It can come pretty rapid. I think that's probably been the case, and I could probably describe it as that. But obviously at night time you try and reflect on things. I get back for the World Cup, I kind of reflected on that. So there has been moments where you kind of look back, but listen, at this stage of your career you just need to kind of live in the moment. I'm loving where I'm now. I'm loving this opportunity, and I'm excited for the season starting.
Given you just found out yourself, what was it a chance to text family and friends and tell them the news, or they find it out as a watching this?
I worked with the media team, so I got a wee 10-second exclusive to give them a heads up in the family chat. All the messages were flooding through pretty rapidly, so it'll be a proud moment for them. A lot of Rangers fans in the family, so they'll be certainly happy to see me captain and lead the team out.
There has been a lot of talk about standards and quality and character last season and the two previous seasons. How quite a shift even just the last few weeks, and how important is that shift in the season?
I think it's always different when a new management team comes in. Obviously, the majority of the group I had the pleasure obviously working with them last year, so I know what they come to expect. I know what training's like. But it's high intensity, and I think there's been a slight notch in terms of the levels of training. Even since I've come in, I've seen things improve. And it's just about getting used to what the manager demands. There's nothing wrong with how different people work, but in particular with the manager we've got here, he wants training to be high intensity, he wants it to be competitive, and he wants everybody right at it for the start. So that's something that maybe you've not been used to in the past, you need to get used to pretty quick. But for what I've seen for the group, everybody's buying into it, and the stands have been getting better.
You just find out about it. I speak to the former captains, they're just understanding so like job is, and obviously Arsenal are there as captains, like job is
That is maybe an idea of something I could do, but I've not thought about that in the last hour, if I'm being honest. I was too busy getting photographs and stuff. But no, listen, it's important. You obviously you want to buy an experience of people that have been there and done it. And if I get the opportunity to speak to people, I will. Of course, Barry Ferguson, Lee McCall and stuff are still around the club, so I'm sure if I bump into them, they'll be giving me lots of advice along the way. It was Barry Ferguson for me. He was always my Rangers hero growing up, and maybe that was being the captain as well. You get the opportunity to lift the trophies at the end of the season when they won them. So it was probably that fact and the thought of that feeling is obviously something you'd want as a captain. I do things properly. That's what I like to do. I like to lead by example that way. Of course, there's times where you need to be more vocal, but I think the days captains been shouting and bawling in people's faces and screaming. I don't think society works that way. I don't think modern day players, really react too well to that. I think it's just about identifying the people who need an arm around the shoulder, need a bit of encouragement, and then there's some who do need a jag at times. But listen, that's something you always come to learn your teammates, and that's not just about the captain. That's everybody identifies what players around about them need. It's about me identifying that quickly and doing whatever I can to help everybody. I think obviously when you start out in your career, you're really young and you need to learn through experience what people come to expect being a captain. Obviously you've worked with captains in the past that you maybe look up to in terms of being at clubs. They've always kind of had that stature in the club, and I always felt that was quite important to have, and that's something you kind of need to grow and build. But for me as a person, I don't look to change too much. I was the exact same person before I was a captain of Hearts as I was when I was it, and when I come here I'll be the exact same. I just like to do things properly. I like the boys to do things properly, respect each other, and just do it the way you should when you're a Rangers player. Possibly. Obviously, the experiences were huge and huge turning points in your career. But when you're at a kind of crossroads in your career, you're always just looking for the next opportunity to try and show yourself and improve and do things better than you did before. I think that's probably been a valuable lesson I picked up pretty young. It probably was a lesson for me to do things properly every single day, week in, week out, for as much as you can. Nobody can be in it 100% every day, to be honest, but you do it as much as you can, and every time you show up to work, you turn up with the right attitude. I think that's something I've always had, and when I got the opportunity, obviously when I was younger, to go back into air and play football again, I was just so grateful. But that grounding obviously does help, and when you work hard and you get moments like this, and you get an honour to lead a club like Rangers, is obviously huge. I think I've been under that pressure as a striker no matter what club I've been at. Since obviously from my early days kind of fell on there, I've managed to put myself in a position to, you get a talisman at clubs, and United as well, Hearts, and that's something I've been proud of. It's a lot of hard work and obviously setting examples and getting the goals for the team, and that's a responsibility I enjoy. So coming here, maybe a bit more scrutiny around it, but in terms for me, the job stays the same. I come to a big club, a big support, you get the opportunity to play at Ibrox, and the way I expect it to go, I expect us to control a lot of games at Ibrox and create chances for the strikers. So it's a challenge I'm relishing. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to leading the line.
Well, congratulations. Came so close to winning the title last season. Perhaps what do you need to do to lead Rangers, or what you team supported to bring us up to?
It'd obviously be huge, and it is something we're obviously going to set out to try and do coming in the season. That's the expectation. You come to a football club like this, you want to go and win the league. There's no shying away for that. We know it's a responsibility that we accept as players. And obviously myself as a captain now, I need to kind of bleed that into the changing room. But I seen we missed out obviously last season, but I'm looking forward and hopefully can get going closer this year.
This was Scott was referring to your career path there. Is that almost a symbol to young players everywhere?
Possibly. Listen, if it helps one boy who's in a sticky position right now, especially at this time of the season, players can find themselves out the game, and it does become a difficult time for people. But if it can be be a lesson for any player out there. Hopefully my journey can help. It is. It'll probably depend on what time the kids are going in, to be honest, how long I'll get to think. But no, listen, you don't need to go too far down that corridor outside when you're walking to the press room to see the past photos of captains of the past lifting trophies, and of course that is something I've always dreamed of. As I just touched on there, it's something that we're going to set out to do this season. Of course, we've got to get our hands on silverware, but I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. We've not even played our first league game yet, and we need to look forward to that on Friday.
Thanks very much, guys.
Good. Thank you. Right, cheers.
The Four Lads Rangers podcast is proudly sponsored by Candid, LBJ Consultants, CBD Oil Scotland, Elite Scooters Scotland and Metaclad, Four Lads exclusive roofing partner. The Aesthetics Lounge by Sharon, Denhay, the quintessential British bacon. Thank you to all our sponsors, and in partnership with Black Rooster, Art of Gold and Rangers Youth Development Company. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.